بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فأنا أتقدم بشكري للدكتور هاني المزيدي والقائمين معه في عمل مثل هذا المؤتمر تحت اسم الحلال. I will speak in English as I understand the whole conference in English language. In the beginning, when I've been asked to say or to talk about Islamic economics, and I find that some people will find it difficult between what is halal and what is Islamic economics. But if you look deeply, both the subject based on Islamic Sharia, with the difference, but both of them based in Islamic Sharia. I will have to make it very short and very condensed to suit the subject in my best ability. As the subject of economics need more time and more explanation and put the foundation and explain the issue, I don't think I will put all together in such a short time in this video. Especially, maybe I think most of you is not really interested in such details in the Islamic economics. Anyway, in the beginning, I put 5 titles, and I will address these 5 titles in short term, quickly, to everybody's benefit. But if somebody is interested in more information and more knowledge, I put my 2 books, the English one, which is called Islamic Economics, The Ultimate Alternative, or the Arabic one, Al-Iqtisad al-Islami, Mabadi'un wa Hudud. To begin with, the first one, Islam and Human Infrastructure. It's very important that to understand what is human society management require and how it applies through the history, and the main source of knowledge. To me, the easy way to start with Hadith Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, بُنِيَ الْإِسْلَامُ عَلَى 5. We signifies the pillar of Islam, the 5, which we all know. I don't have to repeat it. I assume everybody knows the pillar of Islam. But the main thing which we are neglect or ignore, the word bunya, which built on. Then actually Islam is a building. It's a metaphoric building, which we call linguistically infrastructure. Or structure, like economic structure, politics as a subject structure, social structure, military structure, juristic structure, education structure. This is to be human, you have to live in society, and society have to live in structures. And this is one of the result of being Khalifa. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described human and when He acknowledged the angels, إِنِّي جَعَلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ Khalifa, which you can't translate this word, the implication is to live in structure. It has some details, I explained it in the book, but anyway, for this structure is a multi-structure. And within this structure, the economic structure. We can explain that, accept that, but the main thing is where we get the knowledge to put the frame for that structure. In the human history, they got only 2 sources of knowledge. Either revelation from God through Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam to the prophets. And this is one channel of knowledge. Or the other path of knowledge is human brain and human experience. Although human brain is an instrument that needs knowledge, always the initiative knowledge is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this is just to explain the difference between both of them. Then we had to live in a human structure. And whatever it is, politics or economics, is to manage the resource available. And here to come the difference between Islamic economics and traditional economic, the source of knowledge. And from that source of knowledge is huge difference. You either depend on the divine rules or human rules. That's the first one. The second one, economic within human science. Europe, since I'm not going to put a date, the easiest way is to put the movement of secularism. When the struggle between the elite in Europe and the church, and they manage to take power, and they have the deals, different deals between, France Revolution and English, and they make a deal. But anyway, the elite has power to put the rules for society. Whether democracy or the rules like England, the kingdom, the king can own and not rule. Different way, but anyway, the struggle between secularism and the church end up by they have deals. That deals enable the elite in Europe to put what called human science. They call it social science. I don't like the word social because the element of human is more common or more general than the social. For example, I believe economics is more powerful than the social, than politics. But anyway, if we call it human science, is much greater, much multi-meaning than only social, which signifies the social element. For human science, including disciplines or more than one branch of knowledge. One of them is economic. Then we've got two part or two subjects of economic. One rely or depend as a source of knowledge, human brain and human experience, and the other one is divine. When we say divine as an Islamic, based on Quran and Sunnah. Very simple. You choose whatever it is, and that choice has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, the creator who created human, and gave him the choice either to believe in him or not to believe in him. To choose this way or the other way. To choose the divine or to follow human. And that's clearly came in the text of the Quran. وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ, to the end of the ayah. To come to the economics, in order to understand the Islamic economic, I introduced something called the Islamic monetary triangle. Why this triangle? Because the subject of triangle is one subject. Although it has three issues, each issue is a huge subject. But the significance of the triangle, if you look at them in one subject, connected them, you will understand three of them. If you separate them to different subject or different issue, you won't understand any of them. Those subjects is the concept of money, prohibition of usury, obligation of zakat. And they're all related. And in understanding, to understand usury, you wouldn't understand it. I have spent huge time to try to understand usury. I couldn't understand it fully until I study money and see the connection of the money we use, the history, and how the money is being evolved in the system relating to usury. Then the usury is related to money, and both of them related to zakah. Some people might find it a bit difficult for maybe hearing for the first time, but they all connected. But I can say as well, this is one of the significant of legislation in Islam, is to connect the prohibition of usury with money. Look at the hadith when they say الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة هائم بها سواء بسواء. Gold for gold, silver for silver, pay and take in the same time, the amount has to be the same time. Something like that. I'm not trying to translate exact. The whole thing is in details in my book. Then the relation between usury, money, and zakah make them one subject, and you cannot understand it separately. You have to look at them as they are connected. For example, money today. What is money today? To the highly intellectual, even the people working in the banking, they can't define money. Not because it's too difficult, because the history has evolved the paper money, which we call it, which I say it's not paper money, neither anything. I call it legal money, without any value, which is led to the money today as fiduciary fiat money, which is it is the exact usury. Money today is the exact usury. That's why the whole world cannot get rid of usury. All the Muslim world tried attempt after attempt. They can't rid it, because the currency unit itself, it represents usury, the usury is within the currency itself. And if you don't free the currency from usury, how can you make an Islamic economics? Leave the Islamic banking. Islamic banking, it's neither a bank nor an Islamic, because they're dealing with fiat money, which actually it is usury. It has some details than this, but you can look at in details how the money developed since Goldsmith, the gold standard. Then after 71, President Nixon has cancelled the redemption rule, which made money is just nothing out of nothing. And that is itself is a destruction. That's why we live in a monetary system, default, and it will collapse one day. That's about money. Prohibition usually is very clear. Some people try to say banking or the interest is no usury, which is completely trying to bend the rules. The interest or the bank interest is the exact usury. That's why made money is the usury itself, embodied in usury, because no value for the money in your pocket and my pocket today, but from the interest system. Obligation of zakah. Zakah is not voluntarily, and it should be within the economic system, which all the Muslim has been denied to have a system of zakah. Funny enough, we all have tax system, Why can't we have zakah system, which is the same nature, maybe in different in somewhere, but this is it. You can have zakah, very sophisticated system by the government, main resource for the income, the government income or the state income, but you cannot have the same, which is much easier for zakah. One example is if you got today £1,000, you put it in the bank, you get reward money, which is the interest. But in Islam, if you got £1,000, after 1 year, you have to pay zakah, taking into consideration the threshold and the allowance, both within the system of zakah. The difference is when you have £1,000, kept it for a year annually, you have to pay for it. In Islam, as zakah, in the Western or in the economic, today's economic, the usurious economics, if you have £1,000 for a year or for a period, you get rewarded for that, and that make a huge system, a huge difference in both systems. And this is zakah. The zakah is being described in the Quran. It's obligatory. You cannot do without it. Not only that, it's not an individual volunteer. It has to be within the state. That's why we are missing. And it's a part of the system. And that's why I would say the Muslim Ummah cannot practice Islam fully without establishing the nation, the Muslim nation, and applying the zakah system. Of course, prohibiting the usury, getting the money as the currency right. All these different parts from different Sharia point, but all it make a system. It's put the feature of the structure in Muslim society. Economic efficiency, which is very important as well as an issue. Look at, for example, prohibition of alcohol. When you make an alcoholic, first you start from resources. For example, if you make an alcoholic from or you're making a wine from grapes. These grapes, to produce it, you use resources. And that resources, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been put in it the ability to give you something good. You use the resources which has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even your labor. That's being given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With these resources all together, and you bring it, then you turn it to something to hurt a human. And this is what I call inefficient. Economic efficiency rely on applying the Sharia condition. For example, as I just explained, prohibiting the alcohol. And not only just the drink, you have to look at from the whole thing, which is losing the whole resources and produce something which costs human a lot. That's not efficient at all. And this a summary about Islamic economics. You can apply that even to halal. When you get the animals, these animals should be produced for human benefit. But in order to have it for human benefit, in the beginning, you have to take a permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's created you and who created the animal. And the relation between you and animal is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why before we slaughter an animal, we say Bismillah. This is the license, give us the ability or being able to slaughter an animal, because no human can create an animal. From that, it's the same principle. Same principle. You are human, live in this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you all these resources. In order to make use of these resources, you have to follow Sharia, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described for you, to be able to have the benefit of these resources. I hope this summary can give you some thought about Islamic economics and relating the Islamic economics to halal and to the principle of Bunya al-Islamu ala khams, which is the structure, human structure, and the condition shape that structure has to be from Sharia, which we call at the end a deen, religion. Thank you again for my brother, Dr. Rahani, and all the people who is working with him for that conference. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.